Do you know if your chairman of your multinational company could have been a hotel butler? No way, right? This is Mission Unite, no bullshit business. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Mission Unite. Here, we uncover the no bullshit stories from successful individuals and ignite your dream to success. Today, our guest is a prime example of what it means to start from the bottom and climb all the way to the top. Like, literally. So, he began his career as a hotel butler, serving guests and perfecting the way of, yes sir, right away ma'am, and probably 100 other ways of delivering excellence. But one fateful encounter with a CEO changed everything. Fast forward, today, he's now the managing director of that very same company. How did he go from holding doors open to holding board meetings? Well, get ready to find out because we have Edwin Chen. So let's please welcome Edwin Chen, a man who proves that when opportunity knocks, it doesn't matter if you're in a suit or in a butler uniform, you still answer it with confidence and a smile. So without further ado, Edwin, welcome.
Thank you, Tilly. Good to see you.
It's our honor, right, to actually invite you to our show. Why don't you actually introduce to our audience, right? Who you are?
Okay, so my name is Edwin Chen. I am a born and bred Singaporean with quite a bit of experience overseas. So I'm currently the managing director of Boomen in Asia and taking care of the Asia Pacific region.
So what is Boomen? What does Boomen do?
Okay, Boomen is a German family-owned company, and we are currently at our third generation, which is holding the helms. We do steel distributions and tradings. So talking not really about those guys staring into the computer, looking at graphs. What we do, we actually handle real materials. So if you would like to visualize it, think of, let's say, the refineries that you know about, BP, Esso, Shell. When they build their refineries, they let off steel materials, so the pipings and all that. So if you go to Jurong Island, you look at those steel stuff, yes, that's the kind of product.
So those piping that come out, the one
Correct,
that flows.
the ones that flows around and all that, those are the kind of solutions we provide to these end users in terms of the whole supply chain and the steel distribution.
Right, so you are very much on the high-level manufacturing side of a thing, supporting this.
Correct.
Industries.
So it is not onto the commodities whereby it's mainly structural.
Right.
We actually talk about things with withstanding, for example, very high pressure, very high temperature, corrosive resistance, such kind of things, which if something goes wrong, it's very dangerous. So
it's a very niche and specialized industry.
Exactly.
So share with us, right, your journey. But before that, I want to implore to the audience out there, this is a very interesting story, right? Because Edwin, before we came to this podcast, I know Edwin for quite some time. Edwin came from a very interesting background to climb to where he is. Right? So that said, share with us your history.
Okay, so thanks, Tilly. To begin with, I am working in an industry which I'm surrounded by a lot of engineers on top of the commercial guys. I'm not an engineering student. I was not trained in this industry at all. So what am I trained in? I'm actually a pure breed hospitality student.
Right.
So I went through hotel school. From diploma all the way to my bachelor's is in hospitality. Okay. So I actually started my journey into the society working in a hotel.
So you started off in a hotel?
Correct.
What were you doing in the hotel?
So I was part of the pre-opening team of St. Regis Singapore back then. And I was part of the butler team.
So you're doing butler service?
Exactly. So I was taking care of, let's say, the VIPs on the floors, tending to their requirements during their stay. And yeah, as what you know, holding a silver tray in a tuxedo, being a hotel butler. Yes, that was where I started.
So who was the most famous you ever butlered on?
Actually, several superstars I've seen before. I've worked with Kylie Minogue.
Oh, wow.
Aaron Kwok. Zhou Huajian.
Yes.
So, and I would say exciting in the beginning. Subsequently, I think it's more exciting to actually look at the head of states.
Right.
So where those are the more challenging parts because of the more stringent security that we have.
Well, that's very interesting. So, butler, then what happened?
So I still remember that was the first time, it was in 2008. That was the first time Singapore was having Formula One, the night race. And I was assigned, which mostly the presidential suite was assigned to me.
Right.
So I said, okay, there's this German guest that is going to stay to check in into the presidential suite for this whole week of the F1 season. My boss approached me and said, I know you're on leave. Is it possible for you to cancel your leave and to tend to this VIP?
Right.
You know, as we all know, during F1, expensive hotels and all that, for guests to be flying in for F1 staying in the presidential suite.
They're of certain status,
Exactly. So I did that. It was on a rotating shift, so we have two butlers to rotate.
Okay.
I was always taking the day shift.
Right.
And so I was working with this guy who is a CEO of a multinational company.
Okay.
Two purposes for the visit. One, the main intention was the opening of the Singapore subsidiary
Okay.
of his
Company.
Of his company. And secondly is, since F1 is there, you know, who is not excited?
Yes.
So coming here to have
To enjoy F1.
to enjoy F1,
Yeah.
correct. So with that occasion, I managed to meet or to get to know the CEO of this company.
Okay.
And that's when I think if you put the pieces together, a German guy coming in, MNC, yes, that is when in December he approached me for me to join him as part of his staff and to be assisting him in his daily operations.
And this is the current company that you're in.
Yes, for now, close to 16 years.
Wow. So share with me us your journey, because you went to Butler and then you became his personal assistant, right? What happened then? Because I think for you, your hospitality, why would he need you as a personal assistant or what?
So that goes back to something, a principle or a philosophy that I have inherited or I have learned, taken from him. And that is about what is most important is not about the knowledge, it's about the character and the person that you are working with. So from there, how it developed was, it was really an eye-opener for me. I was young, I was just into the society, and to be traveling together with the CEO of a multinational company, you see things, you encounter things, you experience things which you have never experienced before. So it's like, you know, I could retire then because, you know, I could really retire in the sense whereby it's so enjoyable.
Work comfortably and just enjoying whatever
Correct,
that you're doing it.
Because I'm new in that, I'm being guided,
Yes.
you know, and I see things which I will never be able to experience at my age.
Okay.
It was fresh for a few months, and being my nature of being worrying and thinking for the future, I would be like, I can't do this forever. How am I going to be traveling 24/7? How am I going to be away from my family?
Yes.
You know, my parents are going to grow old. What's going to happen then? You know, in the end, this is a German company, not a Singapore company.
Yes.
You know, and if I'm assisting the boss will be based in Germany.
That's right.
So what's going to happen then? How did it get here was when then I realized I am very high up in the hierarchy because I was always beside the CEO. I'm there, but I'm not there. What do I mean? Because it is a dotted line.
Yes.
There's a name, Mr. A. Then at the side, ... assistant to A.
Right.
My name was not shown. It's shown as assistant to A.
Yes.
Then, of course, the deputy is Mr. B, Mr. C.
Yes.
So to me, there's a dotted line. How do I make that dotted line into a solid line?
Yes.
I want to join the chart and I want my name there as myself
That's right.
and not as my title. So that's when I started the journey of how do I work towards that.
So what did you do?
I think the juice of it is I was very open to learn. I was very open to not say the word, I don't know how to do it,
Okay.
but to say, can you let me know how to do it?
Okay.
Okay. With that attitude, I managed to, for example, first I requested for German lessons because I was sitting in meetings whereby it's taught in German. And I was like, I have to somehow understand what they're saying. You know,
So when you don't understand German and you're an assistant to a CEO sitting in board meetings, how do you even cope with that? Because you wouldn't understand anything, right?
that's where the Han Yu Ping is good coming in. So you start writing down and then
Okay.
it might take you, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour to prepare minutes of meeting. For me, to get the minutes ready or to get at least a summary for my boss after the meeting, it takes me much longer because I have to Google and find out what does this word actually means to get the juice of the summary. Okay, they mentioned this name A and they mentioned B, so it must be related to this market. So what would they be talking about?
So there's a lot of things that you need to think for yourself.
Think for myself, and I have to research. It's like you are just recording if you know the language, but to me it's writing something down and researching on what I wrote.
Yeah.
That was the beginning.
So ladies and gentlemen, right, in case you don't know, there was many years ago where there's no such thing as AI translation, right? You just record down, you listen, and you probably have to write everything down. And I'm not even sure that there's even Google Translate back then.
Yeah. So that's one part. And to me, the second part is that I might not be required to run the operations of the business.
Okay.
But a lot of his former meetings are related to the business. So how am I supposed to be listening in or to be recording things on a product that I don't even know what it means?
Yeah.
I just mentioned earlier on about what I do. The kind of products is not off the shelf.
Yes.
It's not something that if you go to the supermarket, you look at this, I know this is a can of drink, that is a packet of salt. They have industrial terms for things like that. And it goes through different testings and all that, which has very professional industrial terms.
Yeah.
So these things also became alien language to me, even though it's conversed in English. So I started writing things down, and I was using I remember one good example was in steel, there's something called flange.
Okay. What's that?
A flange is something which you use to close up the pipe and to connect two pipes together. It's a connector.
Okay.
So I was writing, I was like, flange, flash, flask, flash. So I was really writing a lot of F's around. And I was like, what on earth are y'all talking about? What is a flange?
Yes.
So we're going to requisite flange and this. And then they mentioned some company's name they're going to buy from. I said, no, this name sounds like a Tibet name. What is that? Is that food? And no, you don't talk about food here. So it was really a blank space for me at that point of time. And that's when I requested, for example, for the German lessons, I requested, could you assign someone in the company to give me basic knowledge of the business? What do we do? Okay, we have warehouses. What do we stock? I know pipes. Pipes is long with two holes.
Yeah.
Other than that, do we have other kind of products? So can you show me what it is? I'd like to see, I'd like to feel.
Yes.
So from then on, it moved on to, okay, the boss says, you're really interested. I was even sent to the warehouse to be a worker.
Wow.
So I went there, I was tying up materials, I was operating the overhead crane. I was trained how to drive a forklift because he feels that if you really want to know, then you start from the basics.
Yes.
I was very fortunate. I was given this track and this opportunity to, let's say, go and experience what is at the bottom.
They're very supportive.
Yes.
Because not many bosses will actually allow you to even take German lessons. I'm sure they're costly as well.
Correct. It is.
So when you started that, then how do you climb?
So that was when it's also quite interesting. When there are more confidential board meetings, which I do sit in at times in German and all that, I was not so fluent to be able to catch everything. My favorite hobby is to sit there with some cookies.
Okay.
So, they will serve coffee and then there's cookies.
Yes.
So I was eating the cookies, drinking the coffee, maybe planning what's next, lunch appointment or whatever, or the next flight and all that. So I'll be doing my things, let's say. So all of a sudden, I hear there's like complete silence and everyone stared and looked at me. So they look at me, I was in Germany back then. Look at me, they said, Edwin, do you speak Chinese? I say, yes. A few dialects as well. So not only Chinese Mandarin. Okay, can you read Chinese? I said, yes. So it was like, why? Like, even if I say I can and I can't, you don't even know if I can or not because all of you do not speak Chinese.
Yes.
And the third one was, can you write Chinese? And I said, yes, I can. Okay, that's it. So they said, that's it. And then they went back, okay, thank you, go back to your cookies.
They said that.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, of course I can't be, thank you. Then I go back and start eating.
Yes,
so
yes,
of course
like,
I was a bit stunned and I was like, okay, what's happening?
Yeah.
What's coming up?
Yeah.
So then I started listening into the conversation. They needed someone to go to China.
Okay.
And they went through a round of, let's say, board decisions, votings and all that. And came back to me, told me, are you okay to go to China? I said, yeah, I think I'm okay because I've been traveling so much back then. And to me, Asia is Asia, you see.
Yeah.
So it's a comfort zone. I said, I'm okay. I was young. I was open to travel. And then I said, okay, please pack your stuff. We look for the ticket for you. And I think it's in 3 days.
Wow.
So in 3 days, I was
notice.
sent. I was, let's say, discharged of my role. If you go with the government term, I was seconded to the Chinese entity. And they said, yeah, go there and assist. So they gave me certain tasks for 6 months. So it's a good experience. I've not really lived in China. I wasn't familiar with that. It's always been a mystery. So I said, yeah, it's a nice experience. So that's where I started seconded and moving out from the role of being an assistant and to go into the operative part of the business.
So you were given an official title back then in China, or?
Yes, when I first went there, it was more or less in the quality department as a quality manager, because that's when the knowledge comes in about going to the warehouse, understanding that, being able to speak the language to manage the Chinese vendor. It was in the beginning more of a buying entity that's set up for purchase more than sales.
Right.
But they do want to change that. So it was handling dealings with suppliers more than customers.
Okay.
Which is a lot easier. Party A always has the larger voice. And then dealing with that to audit, to go through audits, to set up quality system, SOPs and all that. So I was doing that in the beginning. And then coming to the end of the 6 months, I was like, okay, so now I think back to Germany. They said, no, we have a different idea. We would like to propose to you. Are you okay to stay in China? And they gave me a general manager title.
Wow, that was a huge promotion.
Exactly. So if you were to ask me looking back right now, was I the best person for the job in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience? I was not.
Okay.
I was young. I was still learning. I'm not from the industry. I was not trained in that. But something came to their mind, and that is they needed someone that has the right attitude and someone that they trust.
Yep.
And with that, I landed myself in the role of being the GM of the Chinese entity, which subsequently I rose to the rank of being the chairman of the board till today. And instead of 6 months, I stayed in China for 6 years.
6 years. Wow, that's a 10 times. Wow. But I need to ask, because I think many of our viewers out there, they do face certain things that, it's very common, especially in companies like this. They say, hey, this person parachute in, right? And you are the person that was being parachute in. How do you deal with that stress back then, or the culture, or any look that your colleagues were given you then?
So, firstly, it is the faith that you have in terms of the management's decision. And the people that are giving the looks reflects a lot on their faith and their confidence in the management. So if you really think that this is a place that you would like to stay, it's not a job, it's a career for you, you would like to do something out of it, I believe you will be questioning.
Yes.
You would be having conversations with your superior about certain decisions that the management makes.
Yep.
If you are the person that goes around in the corner, starts gossiping, starts giving funny looks and all that, I don't think that is a kind of glare that I have to even feel that it matters to me.
Right.
Because maybe after the next Christmas party, this person is no longer around.
Because disgruntled, sad leave. But was it tough? Because I think there's a very positive mindset, right? And I think being Asian, we are less open to such thing. Was it tough on your first 6 months especially?
It was very tough. Firstly, I would have to say, I always, back then, told myself, do I deserve this title? Can I represent myself well when I go out and say, hi, I'm the general manager of Women China.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. I face a lot of closed doors. I've had experience whereby I meet, let's say, the owner of a supplier. I walked in. I was like, hi, I'm the general manager. It looks, 你就是陈总. He stood up and he left the room.
Wow.
So we were all shocked. I was shocked. I didn't know what I did. I met you for the first time. And apparently it was a matter of, you look so young. You're even like younger than my son. I'm not going to talk business with you.
How do you deal with it?
I think first you have to encourage yourself that this is something you cannot change. It's out of your control. So when you are dealing with obstacles or you're dealing with problems, the first thing you have to ask yourself is if it is within my circle of control.
Yes.
I cannot change how old I am there and then.
Yeah.
This is something I cannot change. But I think that can be compensated. What can it be compensated? You know, when you look at someone, other than the age, you look at how well this person hold himself,
Okay.
how properly dressed he is. Is he a respectful, polite person?
Uh-huh.
Then when you sit down and start having a conversation, is it empty or is it full?
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to have a constructive conversation? And that is where I started working on.
Right. So were there like, self practices and all in your room or in the bathroom? I don't know. I said, okay, this is what I should do. This is how I should be speaking, because you're pretty much all on your own on a foreign country, right? You need to step into very big shoes. What was the preparation work? Or what was the behind the scene work that you do?
So first part is, I think that's the easiest part of it, and that's the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back over the more than a decade with the company, I think the easiest part is knowledge. There are books, there are files, there are standards that you can find it, you can read it, and you can memorize.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is not challenging for Asians. We all know that we can read and we can memorize.
Yes.
You know, you can fill yourself up with knowledge. Knowledge is a very good buffer.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're talking about things, facts, throw facts out, throw knowledge out, you will gain a bit of respect, like, he knows
Right.
what he's talking about. Next would be, I kept a very open mindset that don't treat yourself as an expat, don't treat yourself as a foreigner, think local. You know, I've seen examples of sitting down and, 我华语不是很好, so I'm going to do the conversation in English. So for your own comfort, you're making it uncomfortable for the
For
other
the other
person.
party, yes.
You know, so that is what I begin working on.
So
I
you
started
infuse into the culture.
exactly.
It's
So
like exactly how you did it in Germany.
correct. So
Yeah.
similar to that, you know, I started speaking the local language, the local lingos, the do's and don'ts. You know, in China, we always know about the dining table is a sacred place.
Yes.
It's not so easy as just to be sitting down and having a meal.
Yes.
There's a lot of ritual, a lot of respect. Who sits where? Who
Yeah.
says what? Who says first?
The full
and all this.
full suite of etiquettes and all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you look at that and you feel that, you know, there's so much to do, I'm just going to do it. No one will blame me because I'm a foreigner. Then you are not able to impress them. You're not able to make them feel that you respect their culture and you want to be close to them.
Yes.
And I had to do a lot more on these factors to compensate on the fact that you are so young, which is something that I cannot change. But the rest of the factors are within my control.
Okay.
I can learn about that.
So share with us, the audience, right? When you become a general manager, how old were you then?
So I was 24 back then.
24.
Yes,
General manager of a multinational company in China, foreign land.
correct.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. So what? So your stint in China, after that, what happened?
So I went through something which I would acquire that as one of a very positive trait of mine, and that is change. We went through a lot of changes. We changed the structure, we changed the setup, we changed the approach. We did major changes, even though it meant at that point of time would be a loss.
Okay.
But we took the hit and then we decided to change. And that's how it grew to be a profitable entity of the group
Okay.
until today.
Wow. But the thing is that as a 24-year-old, right, you did mention, you must have faith in the management, you must have faith with, doing things that you're doing, you must do all your homework. But I must ask, 24 years old, general manager, right? How often do you check in to your bosses back in Germany?
So in the beginning part of it, I had a boss that is located, let's say, in China. So there was one of the owners.
Okay.
Actually, he's the current CEO of the group. So the third generation of the family. And he was actually based in China. So for the first 6 months, we were already working together. And that's how, more or less, he looked at how I was working. And then he decided to propose back to the board and the owners to say, I'll be a good substitute when he returns. So the moment I took on the job, there were, I would say, another maybe 3 to 5 months. And then he went back to Germany to take up bigger roles, which progressed. And until today, then he's the CEO of the whole group.
Wow. So these are very awesome opportunities. And most people would have just said, hey, too big a role, shoes that I can't fill, right? I wouldn't have filled it in. But you managed it so well. You gave yourself a very positive outlook and have so much belief in yourself, right? The whole thing of China is just amazing. So, but I learned that after China, you also went back to Germany as well.
Correct. So to the later part of China, it became pretty comfortable, I would say. I'm not saying that we are doing so well that there's no more opportunities. It's that with the setting up of a team, once your team is not relying on you, you know that you have succeeded. So meaning that it is minimum control, you don't micromanage anymore. You go through the proper reportings and things like that. All your procedures are in place. So it gets a bit comfortable, and I would say it's not so challenging anymore because, you know, the tough part of it has passed.
Yes.
So at the same time, they also approached me and then they said, yeah, what do you think of the future? Because it's been 5-6 years in this role now. We're happy, and do you have any thoughts? And this goes back to my mentioning of in the beginning, I was working with the current CEO.
Yeah.
So when I was landed the role, he congratulated me and all that and says, yeah, your first task is to find a replacement. So my boss actually told me to look for a replacement for my current role on the first day of taking up the role. So after 6 years, he says that I think you're ready to move forward if you have a replacement. If not, if you have a succession plan.
So on the first day of you taking up the role of a general manager, your boss tells you that your job is to find the next in line.
Correct. So it was very interesting because firstly, I have not performed. But they already told me your most difficult role and the role that you have to keep in mind is to find someone to replace you.
Yes.
If you don't get replaced, you will never move up.
Yeah.
You'll always be stuck at doing what you are good at, and that is that role, and you're stagnant. Which defies a lot of the supervisor's mentality.
Yes.
If you're too good, I'll get replaced, I'll lose my job.
Yeah.
You know, and that is also a kind of thought that I have till today when I'm training, when I'm mentoring people, that I make sure that you're as good as I am. Because you can be as good as I am doing what I'm doing, but don't forget who trained you.
Yes.
You know, so then they approached me and then they gave me a few options to think about. And I decided that if you look at the role, I wasn't really trained and very much specialized in sales activities, in handling sales activities. And therefore, I took up the option of moving to Germany after China and went to the projects department, and I was heading the global projects. So doing international projects, which I would say is a win-win. Number one, firstly, for me, I can learn about a project business. I was then assigned for the first time to a non-family member as my boss.
Okay.
And then he's a very experienced guy. He's retired now as a mentor for doing the project business. Secondly would be for them, they acquire someone that has English as the mother tongue. Being in a German company, you know, a lot of them are not comfortable
with
approaching English-speaking markets.
Yes.
Or using English as the primary language.
Yeah.
So I went there to a German-speaking German office and I said, no, my department is going to be in all English. So to set up that, and I found that a good challenge. And now looking back, it was a very good exposure for me as well.
Yeah. So what got you decided to come back to Singapore?
Came again by coincidence. They approached me actually at the peak of the new department that I set up. So very good growth in terms of the revenue. I've established really very key accounts, customers, acquired customers. I was really happy doing what I was doing. Then it was in the year of the pandemic, but not related to the pandemic. It was in a very early stage whereby I was in Germany and, you know, we felt that, okay, it will not come so far. They approached me. They needed someone to fill the role in Asia, mainly in Singapore, and if I'm interested for the role. So it kept me thinking for a while because we were quite ready in settling there for a longer period of time.
Okay.
My family and I were actually looking to purchase a house in Germany. So you know that it's not going to be another, 6 months to a year.
Yes.
So then came this opportunity. We went through a lot of thoughts. We had a family vote at home with my kids. And then taking the thoughts of, number one, running around out for so long, it's good to go back to family. Parents are aging. It's good to be closer to them. Yes, we see them once a year or twice a year. They come once, we go back here. But it's still different from staying together.
Yes.
Number two, my kids were never exposed to Singapore being Singaporeans. They were born in Shanghai, went to school in Germany, so they had never experienced the Singapore culture. Thirdly would be, I would see me contributing a lot more being a Singaporean that has been out one round and coming back here. To bring the international approach, to bring the different mindset and mentality here. So I consider myself a very good bridge between the Western and the Eastern culture.
Yeah. So hearing your whole full story now that we come back to your whole full career cycle, I'm curious, right? What was your most difficult point in your whole career?
I would say there are several difficult challenges. Gave you already the example of being too young.
Yeah.
The second example was in Germany to tell the Germans, say, no, now we're not going to write emails and talk in German. We're going to have meetings in English. Because these two positions gave me the exposure to two totally different cultures.
Yes.
It's different from moving from one Asian country to the neighboring Asian country. If I'm in Malaysia, going to Indonesia, language is the same. You can communicate. We are still in the same hemisphere. A lot of the cultures are the same. Rice is our, staple food and all that. But going there, from eating noodles and rice to eating potatoes and all that is totally different from the convenience you get here to a very work-life balance culture you have there. I would say the transition is also one of the very challenging points. But so as to say, I felt that all the challenges or all the tougher parts of my career was more or less anticipated by me. So there wasn't really a fall. Because if I can anticipate that there's a pit in front, then I can take a bigger route or I can jump across the pit. Right. So it's really how you establish your planning or how you look at a certain topic. We always look at, okay, I want to do that. I have a method.
Yes.
Maybe I ask around if I have a second way of doing so.
Yes.
Then I run towards that direction. But perhaps stop and think, okay, what would I face? Would I have this possibility? Would I have that possibility? Once you cover it as much as you can, then it's a very good prevention to avoid a fall.
So you does this methodology of strategic thinking, I would say, to every single thing that you do?
Some things comes after a while as muscle memory. Now, for example, if you were to ask me to go through a, 50 pages contract, I will flip to a certain specific clause. I know that.
As I this clause
one
is there,
one hole. You start circling out all the pits.
Right.
For bigger decisions, that's definitely necessary.
Okay.
So we like to rush into it. Adrenaline kicks in.
Yes.
We want to, I would say yes to that.
Yep.
No, stop and think. What will you face? Am I able to handle that? If I'm not able to handle, how long would it take me to handle that? I'm not encouraging people to say no. I'm just encouraging people to stop, think, anticipate, find possibilities to overcome that, set yourself a timeline, then you make the decision.
Right.
Then you know if I'm able to be successful in that.
Yeah.
Why jump into it if you know you're going to fail?
That's awesome advice, man. Ladies and gentlemen, great advice here. Please record this down and listen it over and over again because I think it's going to help you, right, in any of your journey, whether is it a career, your business startups, right, or in fact, any decision in your life, right? So back to you, Edwin. I'm curious now because for you, international exposure, right? Many differences. What are the key few differences that you thought was the toughest to accept it?
In the end, I would say that all differences goes back down to the people.
So people was the hardest part.
Yes, the people is still the hardest part. Even until today, doing something, selling a product for more than 15 years, I'm very familiar with what is good about us and what is not good about us. I know the price level, I know the competitors and all that. But it's dealing with the person. You have the same product, but you have a different purchaser across you.
Yes.
You have the same sales team and the same sales strategy. You have a different sales manager below you. What's the approach that you need to do? It's really still back to about the people. And the managing of the people, the understanding of the people. Everyone has a different motivation and a different wants in life.
Right. And would you say that this skill set is trainable?
Yes, I would say this skill set is trainable, but this skill set needs to start with opening up of your mentality. We have been, most of us, regardless of which part of the world, we have been brought up in a different environment, a different education system, and you have been exposed to different culture. Deep down, you have been programmed in there's a right way. Okay? Whatever that is different could be a different way or a wrong way.
But will reach to the same objective that you wanted to.
It could reach to the same objective. It could be a different objective.
Okay.
But the essence of it is, does a different way means a wrong way? If deep down, whatever you say, the first thing I say, you are wrong. Or I could say, that's interesting. Let me hear a bit more on your views. But if I'm so programmed that as long as not my way is the highway, then I would say, no, that is wrong. And with this kind of approach to cultures where they would challenge you, there are very open cultures which would openly challenge you.
Right.
Even though you are the boss, I don't care about the hierarchy, you are wrong on that. I would like to challenge that decision.
Wow.
Or to certain cultures which it will be, yes sir, he's the boss, I keep quiet.
Wow, that's very interesting food for thought.
So I think that is really something that is easy for you to train because it's you.
Yes.
It's within the circle of control.
Yes.
That I can ask myself, do I always slam people down for decision that's not my decision? Do I insist of people on doing things my way even though we achieve the same objective?
Yes.
And that goes back to the toughest part of it, which is the managing of the people.
Right. Yeah. It's something that you really need lots of experience just to really solve that part. So now I'm going to pull you out from the business side. I want to go to a personal side of you, right? Because you've been traveling so far, right? And I've been hearing that, when you came back to Singapore, you have a family vote, right? How was the support for you throughout your career?
I would say I'm very lucky to get a better half that is so supportive of my decision. She supported me throughout my career. We do have our bottom lines of countries we do not want to stay.
Okay.
But in general, that's more towards the safety and the stability of the country. But if not, she's been following me and she's been taking care. She's a homemaker, so she's been taking care of domestically while I take care of the external part.
So would you say that that's actually very important? Because I think in today's society, especially the younger ones, they say that hey, actually I don't need a partner. Right, I can do everything on my own. Is this important?
It is very, very important. When you ask me about certain routines and all that, I wasn't able to come up with a specific routine. But now you have said that she is more or less my venting ground, my loud hailer, my shouting box.
Okay.
Being in a professional settings, we are all overcome by emotions. I always say that we live with two faces. To me, there's a professional face, and to me, that's me, Edwin.
Yes.
I cannot bring that's me, Edwin, to every single professional settings.
Okay.
This is a skill I've already acquired since the hospitality industry.
Yep.
Much as you don't like the person, you smile and you say, "Good morning, sir. How may I assist you?"
Yeah.
You say, "What you want?"
Yeah.
That doesn't work. So with these two faces, that is whereby it comes to a stressful day.
Yes.
There's so much cropping up. But you do not see, for example, the Prime Minister going on stage and start cursing or start shouting or start giving you a face.
There's an image that you still must upkeep.
There's an image you have to upkeep.
Yes.
For the sake of the corporate, your company that you represent, and for your own personal professional sake.
Okay.
But then somehow, what goes in has to come out.
That's right.
you take up so much
You're
nonsense.
if you don't come out, you're gonna burst one way or another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is whereby she becomes a very good listening ear. So she hears of this. And it's always good to get a third party's opinion that is not in the story.
Okay.
She's not related to work. She's not an employee. She looks at it from a very pure human perspective.
Right.
So Chinese, there's a very good saying that says, 先做人再做事.
Okay. So,
So she can really give.
in translation first, right? Before it says 先做人再做事,
再做事.
right? You have to be the person before you start doing the work. I mean, that's literal direct translation, but everyone will mean what it means.
So it's really talking about first I will look at the person. It goes, you see, it's all linked.
Yes.
I first look at the person, if the attitude is right, if it's trainable, if the motivation is there. That is being a human. I'm a very enthusiastic person. I'm a very polite person. My moral views are very good. My moral values are there.
Yes.
That is where you have done the first box of 先做人. You already is a decent human.
Okay.
Then you work on what you need to accomplish. That is the accomplishment. That's the work that you present. Then that is 现在做事.
Right.
If I put the box of being a person right in front, this is something that without professional knowledge, my wife can always remind me of people. This person, come on. You look at that. It's not a decent human. It's nasty. It's not nice to say this. It's not nice to do that. His behavior is not nice in this setting.
It's the ethics, the moral grounds.
Exactly. And you need someone that is like a checker to keep you in check.
Yes.
Because I'm so overwhelmed by, the objective, the role, the job, the whatever that's related in the office.
Right.
But you look at it from a very pure view of, is this a decent human being?
Right. Well, she might not understand the context of it, but she see it as a virtue of doing things. How was it being done that way? Well, that's a very great insight. Never thought of that that way. So with that said, I'm curious. What about mentorship then?
I am totally to that. Mentorship is so important. If you were to ask me about mentorship, I would actually classify mentorship with 3 very simple words. What it contributes. It push, it stops, and it pull.
Okay.
Mentorship
Please
stop,
elaborate.
and pull.
Push, stop, pull. Okay.
Okay. What is the push? The push is the encouragement. The push is the guidance.
Okay.
When you stand at a cross junction, do I turn left, do I turn right, do I go straight? Maybe there's a diagonal 45 degrees angle. This person gives you the push towards the right side.
Right.
A slight maneuver to avoid you going into very drastically wrong mistakes that you make in life. Because a mentorship comes from someone that would provide guidance, provide encouragement for things that he has already been through or he has already seen.
Yep.
Okay, so it avoids you making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, but there are some mistakes which will slow you down too much, or you have such a big negative impact for you. Okay, stop. In life, we always take breaks. Okay, you take breaks and then you get discouraged. You're like, I'm at a standstill. It's a bottleneck. I can't move up anymore. When you're stopping, someone stops with you as a support. So you can stand there alone, or you can have someone saying, you're tired. Let me put your arms around my shoulder.
Yes.
I give you a bit of support.
Yes.
It's normal. You are going through this at the age of 24. I was there at 35. You have a head start. Even if you need to take a bit longer to rest, do that. It's for your own good. That is the stop and the support. Pull is where I have to pull you back from certain things.
Right.
And this is important because we are talking about building things up. The last part of it is to prevent your head from going too big. There are people that, I don't need a mentor anymore. I'm good. I'm successful.
Yes.
Then you start to fly. You start to throw things around. You act as if your nose is higher than your head. That's where someone pulls you back down, get back on the ground.
Right.
And this is the part to train you yourself from being a trainee, being mentored, until you are ready to be a mentor. And that's when I feel that the cycle from the push, the stop, and the pull is completed.
Wow, that's amazing. Right. I mean, you did mention that, when your head gets too big, I don't need a mentor. Right. The other side of the story that most people will say is that actually, I do not know how to find a mentor. Right. What do you say to this then?
I would say exactly what mission and what you're doing is a very good platform. You are inviting people to talk about their experiences. For very successful professionals, and I speak from my own experience, we are very willing to share. Because I mentioned again with my philosophy, and that is, if I don't share, I don't train, I will never move up. Every time I share, it refreshes my memory.
Okay.
I go through the experience again. So meaning, for example, if I have 10 years of experience and I'm telling you everything that I did in the last 10 years over the course of next 2 years, I relive that 10 years.
Right.
I revisit mistakes that I've made. I revisit the right decisions that I've made. I remind myself what is my core principle, what is my bottom line. So we are very willing to share. So what does it mean? It means that you have to be open enough to hear things from different aspects. Okay, for example, I am in the finance sector. I will only talk to bankers. I will only talk to people in the finance industry and all that. Why? When I mentioned the whole cost of this, have I told you really the main challenge is regarding something that is technical, regarding something that's within the industry? Was there really something that is because of my industry, therefore I face this issue? No. The main challenges I face are things that everyone is facing.
So, ladies and gentlemen, in case you're wondering, no, I did not pay Edwin to do this free advertisement, but thank you for that. But really do thank you for that. So, I'm curious right now, because I think for you, you've been in a corporate side of things. And in fact, you are, as much as you do say that you're in a corporate, right? But you are pretty much an entrepreneur because you have to rebuild things, you have to start everything else from scratch and all. Now I have two very specific questions for you. The first question is, actually for the young ones today, all right, if you were to give them a piece of advice to start off the corporate ladder, right, what would you tell them?
The corporate ladder is, to me till today, is a very good platform to start off. In a very young age, you are trying to, what we call, test water. Everyone knows what they want at the different stage of life. There are people that are very early in life, perhaps very motivated or triggered by specific things, let's say a family business,
Okay.
or a specific incident, or a specific someone.
Okay.
Or it could be very typical in Singapore, whereby I go through my traditional studies, how the government planned for me. I have my primary school, secondary school, I go to college, tertiary education, I graduate either with a diploma, with a professional certificate, or with a bachelor's. Then most people, I don't know what I want to do, let me go and do my master's.
Right.
Because you are still dragging on the decision making. Corporate is whereby, firstly, I would say the risk is the lowest. It is a job. You are paid for the job. You are given a specific job description.
Okay.
So I hire you as a sales assistant. I give you, this is what you need to do. This is who you report to. This is your daily task. Please do it. In that setting, you are exposed to the whole organization.
Yeah.
You see the different parts of the tree. There is sales, there's purchasing, there's finance, there's admin. Okay, so this is how it means. Staying for 1.5 years, you start to know that, office politics, what are the people doing? That's where you are free sit in to hear things from the ground.
Right.
This is a corporate setting. I think your next question would be to start your own business and to be an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
By having this knowledge, what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is where you are on top. So whatever you see and whatever you look becomes top down.
Right.
In a corporate, it's bottom up. I don't think someone would employ a new grad to be the CEO right away, on no basis. Okay. So that is where, how do you link to the two of them up with the information flow? Because when I'm top down, what do I want? I want to be able to handle this whole tree, this whole chart, the different arms of the company. So that is where the corporate role would contribute to the knowledge or to the success of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So with that said, I mean, today, most of us will say that, hey, actually, if you're tired, you move on, How important is resilience in climbing, whether it's a corporate or the entrepreneur level?
It's an ever-changing world. So I hear that a lot, take a break, look for something else. It's a toxic environment and all that. How toxic it is only a matter of how much toxic people you put it in. So that environment is how you create it.
Okay.
So if I'm an entrepreneur, it's how you create that toxic environment. Take a closer setting. If at home, growing up, every time someone is upset, they slam the door. Growing up, slamming door is okay. It's just to tell people that I'm angry. Okay, done that. Boom, slam the door.
Right.
It builds a culture. But that is toxic. But then to you, if you grow up in that, you don't feel that is toxic.
Yes, it's really a norm for.
It's really a norm. So if every time I go into a place with a different norm, I tell myself it's okay to take a break and you move on, then perhaps you're wasting a lot of the time which is given to you to experience, to gain experience, to learn, to fill up your knowledge, to expose yourself to different positivity, and then ultimately coming up with something of your own. Because you spend too much time trying to find the right fit. Is that really a right fit? Or is it something that I can live with and I learn how to live with it?
Right. So I want to bring you back to the past because I think for you, you've been a very lucky guy so far, right? Actually, I wouldn't say lucky, to be very honest. I think it's an opportunity that you've seen it and actually grab it with both hands, right? So I wouldn't really say lucky. But with that said, if I were to throw you back all the way when you're in the early 20s or even you're 18 years old, right? Would you have done anything differently?
Okay, firstly, on the point about being lucky, I think people in life, you meet a few 贵人, you meet a few, Butler needs to look for the
people who actually
appreciate.
贵人 are people who, I don't know, give you a bit of blessing, helps you up,
Like important people in different phases of your life.
Yes.
So I'm fortunate enough to have met a few of this.
Okay.
So given the opportunity, I would say that it always comes by to people. Firstly, it's how fast you take it. How much courage are you willing to step out of your comfort zone? I mean, yes, I was fortunate enough to get that, but I left the country.
Yes.
I was away from my comfort zone. I was away from my family. I was all alone in a foreign land, living off a luggage.
Pack everything within 3 days.
Exactly. To just go there, I was living off a luggage. I gave up a lot of social circles. My friends were still here. How do you maintain the friendship? We can't be webcamming every time you go out for food.
Yes.
So you actually give up a lot. Okay. In exchange for what? In exchange for a stage. I was given a stage for me to perform. How well you sing, how much effort you put into it, how desire to succeed you have determines of what comes out from the stage.
Right.
Is it going to be applause? Is it rotten eggs, tomatoes, that is still back to what I did. I was merely given that stage for me to perform.
Right.
Would I have done anything different? Whatever happened in the past, the right decisions, the mistakes, the challenges that I've made who I am today. I will not be the Edwin speaking to you now if I did not make a specific mistake 5 years ago. If I did not offend someone because I said something wrong in the wrong setting 10 years ago. So I wouldn't have changed anything because I always feel that you stop, you think, you make a decision and you stand by your decision.
And you learn from
it.
Yeah.
The mistakes are the ones that made me grow.
Yeah. So now that I bring you back to the past, I'm curious, what's the future for you now?
That's a tough question. All the changes in my life came unexpected. And I go back to how volatile the environment is. I have no real expectation of where I want to be and how I want to go. It is good to be ambitious, but it's also important to be contented. If you are never contented, you will never enjoy the success of what you have achieved. So with that being said, I would say that the current intention for me is to really grow the Asia Pacific aspect in this company. It is a German company. Next year, we are 80 years.
Oh, wow.
The company is celebrating the 80th anniversary next year, the group. And at the moment, I feel that the Asia Pacific region could have a higher weightage
in the group.
Group. So that to me goes also a bit bigger you can say it's a bit of the Asian pride
Uh-huh.
to be saying that, hey, come on, in a European company, being an Asian, I can push the Asian market up to be to hold the helms be one of the legs of the table.
Yes.
To be one of the key. That is number one, is I would say my first priority of what I want to do and where I see myself. Next would be, as I said, I'm trying to enjoy the success that I have.
Okay. So in my show here, right, I'll ask all my guests if there's one word you have to all the inspiring young entrepreneurs out there, what would that word be?
This is not paid, but I think Tillyson said my word earlier on, and my word for that would be mentorship.
Okay. And maybe you want to further elaborate. I mean, you did mention quite a fair bit of mentorship and all, but maybe over here want to get you to reiterate some of these points again. Why mentorship?
Okay.
Why is it so important to you?
As for me, if I look back onto the path that I have, so I've read this somewhere before that a person, normally you have two fatherly figures. You have one which is a father by birth, and you actually have a professional father. So a professional father is someone which you look up to, and you feel that you can learn a lot from this person. This person is unselfishly sharing knowledges, comments, advice, and all that.
Yeah.
I mentioned on that part on going to my wife and rental about things that I face. She cannot do that part for the professional aspect.
Right.
If I go there, it's like, I'm stuck here. I never booked with this customer. What is happening and all that. You need to find someone in a professional setting that's able to do that.
Okay.
And being Asian, I feel that the Asian culture, we are very shy. We are very shy and we refuse to ask for help. We feel that, okay, I would go back. I would read a lot. I will learn a lot from the internet and all that. I can do it myself.
Yeah.
It's not a weakness to ask for help. And if you feel that it is embarrassing to do that, once you identify a mentor, this person is there to help without even you asking.
Right. So would you say that, for mentorship, do you just stick to one, or is there any for multiples?
Mentorship is a process. It is a method. I did not say to look for a mentor. So in life, we mentioned earlier on, you meet different important people in the whole journey. And I think that comes about. Forget about Shaolin Temple with one Shifu and then I go to my Shifu for everything. No. These are resources. These are important people that you respect. You think that you will be benefiting from them. Keep them in the speed dial list. You can have up to 9 minimum. Call someone. Is it okay if I have a coffee with you? I think I'm stuck with something. Let's have a chat about it. And to me, that is the most basic kind of mentorship.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Edwin. So ladies and gentlemen out there, right? Don't just look for a work wife or work husband. Look for work fathers out there, right? Those who are going to help you as well, right? So very excellent advice. Thank you very much, Edwin, for this. So before I end off this whole show, right, maybe I'll direct you to this camera over here, right? Any last parting words, advice, right, for the audience out there?
I would say that for aspiring entrepreneurs or for people that are just stepping into the industry or into the work industry, into the society, do not be shy to ask for help. I think it is very normal to be in an uncomfortable situation that you need some assistance. So look around, listen around, be open about it, keep an open mind. And I'm sure you know what you want, you will succeed in life.
And that's a wrap. Edwin Chen, from Hotel Butler to Managing Director of Pullman. What an inspiring journey. I do hope that Edwin's story reminds all of us that no matter where you start, persistence, seizing opportunities, and a dash of courage can lead you to places that you can never ever imagine. We hope that his insights and advice spark a fire for all of you out there, reminding you that the path of success is just as much about the climb as it is about where you end up. Thanks for tuning in, and if Edwin's story does inspire you, don't forget to share this episode with someone who might just need a little reminder to keep pushing forward. Until next time, keep dreaming big, and like Edwin, be ready to answer when the opportunity knocks. Thanks for tuning in, and if Edwin's story inspired you, don't forget to share this episode with someone who might just need a little reminder to keep pushing forward. Until next time, keep dreaming big and like Edwin, be ready to answer when the opportunity knocks. Catch you in the next episode. Hi guys, thank you for listening. If you like what you have just heard, follow us for more content like this.